Welcome everybody to the tour of this Minecraft museum documenting the history of the server. Please put all of your items, everything in your inventory, into the lockers. We are not responsible for any losses. And let's go through security. So, first of all, we're going to go through just to make sure that nothing gets stolen from the museum. Our first section that we will go through is the early period between June and July. This is when the server first started, and it had many people playing on it at the time. The largest and the most powerful faction was the IBC, International Banking Clan, and it was very powerful. All across the Minecraft world its wealth was shown, and the server was also rocked over the controversy with Hugo, a member that was on and off with the server. The first icon on our left is the very first set of armor worn by Aiden in the IWP. Then we have the vending machine, which you just saw a little earlier. It was the first one in the shopping district. Then we had the moss block, the very first moss block on the server. And then we have the beds that Chris and someone else slept on. Now on to the next section. The pre-Civil War between August and September. During this time, many new younger people joined the server, although the server was still very much, it didn't have that many people, it was quite dead. These people included Trey, Daniel, Nico, but it made a lot of the older members leave. In this period of time, the IWP was the most powerful faction, and it was basically the only one, as those who made up other factions left. Now this is a cannon from the One Day War that was shot at Trey's house. It backfired and destroyed itself. Quite interesting, actually. You can see that video. It's Warcraft 8. Then we have a piece from Trey's original house from the One Day War, and then a piece from the iron farm that never worked and was built right next to the IWP old base. Then we have a pass to enter Pablo's base. It was Pablo's last project on the server before finally leaving. Then we have Tess's pufferfish. Tess joined the server during this time, and he sold pufferfishes as drugs. Then we have Moritz's axolotl, Mutti Merkel, which had a very interesting story, and it was handed over to Nico as part of one of the biggest betrayals of the early server, in which Nico was promised a trident in return for many other things such as the dragon egg and Mutti Merkel, but he was actually stolen from. Now we have the Civil War. This war raged between the IWP because of the fractures that had happened during the time where they were all united, and the IWP ended up splitting into a civil war between those who wanted to be led by Aiden and those who wanted to be led democratically by Nico. It's the most deadly war on the server so far. Here we have the obsidian block used during the Battle of Twin Peaks to kill Nico and Trey. Now this is a replica of the original copy of the end of the war, and this is the igloo from which Nico did his famous turbo crystal that killed and destroyed Aiden and Trey and destroyed their stuff. It is sad for me to think about. Now we're on to the next area. This is of the post-Civil War era. In this time, there was a lot of prosperity, and Nico, shortly after winning the Civil War, left, and it returned to the old dictatorship rule that had happened before. In this time, many new things were started, and some new people joined the server. However, it was still dead. Quite dead. Even more so than it had been before. Things had been getting worse. So, in front of you is a ballot for Trey. during the first election of the IWP. It is also the only election before Nico left. Then we have a piece of powdered snow from the mountain. The mountain was a mega-base project built during the Civil War, before and after actually, but it had to be stopped during the Civil War. Then this is the entrance of the original villager enclosure of the IWP. It was originally placed back in June of 2021. Then this is Blackfist's original bed, recovered from his base that was shared with Nico. The Blackfist incursion, September. During September, Black Lavali joined, and they went on a griefing and hacking spree across the server. They killed villagers and they destroyed much of the IWP old area, destroyed the industrial district, although stuff like the mountain was untouched. However, like the first shopping district was. This was Blackfist's original boots, and it was stolen by Nico before I could ban Blackfist. Now that is Trey's head, killed by Blackfist at an unknown time, probably during his last spree. This was the horse used by Nico during the construction of the mountain, and while he was there in the IWP, and he sat in the IWP stables before being moved to the museum. And this is a jukebox recovered from Blackfist's shared base with Nico during one of his alliance times. This is a block from which the mall was built from. The mall was built during this time. This was the very first shop that Nico made in the shopping district. The shopping district had a short revival period for about 2 days, in which new currency was announced away from the server's old currency, and which changed it to diamonds. However, when Blackfist griefed it only 2 days after it had started, it ended this period of short richness. But later, the mall was built, and as part of episode 16, we had a massive revitalization project of that area, which made it a lot richer, more prosperous, and that was the mall and the shopping district that we knew for quite a while, up until the Age of the Dome. Age of the Village. The Age of the Village was a new revitalization time for the server. During the Age of the Village, many new people joined, and everyone lived together in a communal new area and a faction owned by Nico called the Village. During this time, there was a lot less tense, there were a lot less wars, and everyone was just happy to be together building, and it all had a very nice aesthetic. However, things started to crack. This is the original banner from the Village. It was the very first banner made out of it was supposed to resemble a frog. Now this is Samuel's head, later known as Foxy, who joined the server and left during this time. This is the leaves from the centerpiece, the egg, which was actually the second build ever built in the village after Nico's house. And this is one of the lamps built by Aiden while he was in the village. Next, the Age of the Dome. The Age of the Dome was another revitalization era after the collapse of the village. Well, the village didn't collapse, but after Aiden was denied his visa from the village, the IWP began work on the Dome. The Dome was a new mega base built up in Turtle Bay, where Tess was, and this construction took a while. However, revitalized the IWP and made it once again the strongest faction. This is Tess's horse, Jesus. It was one of the oldest horses on the server, and also one of the only fathers of all the race horses. This is Tess's chestplate, the last piece of armor still left from his underground base, built a long time ago, before the IWP even owned it. This was Mortis's elytra, taken as spoils of war when he died during the Great War against Mortis. This here was the last unfound biome, the Mesa biome, which was finally found during this time. Now this was the Moritz IWP war, in which Moritz wanted to gain territory and wanted to gain prestige from the IWP, however was quickly overwhelmed by the large amount of support from the IWP and its members, as well as foreign mercenaries like Nico, who helped on the side of the IWP. This war, had Moritz had won it, could have changed the history of the server forever. It was made from the real stuff of the scene. The change to the nether roof. During this time, Aiden built a bunch of portals to the nether roof that changed everything, and it changed how we transported ourselves, and it shorted transport times massively. However, it left the nice nether from down below to a more barren landscape. Thank you all so much for watching this museum talk. I hope this helped you in the explanations of everything in the museum. Make sure to like and subscribe and check out the other videos that we've made.